Hello everybody, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. Me and the outside St James's Park, not Selhurst Park, St James's Park. We're going to recap all the latest information in regards to Newcastle United ahead of a very busy couple of days for Eddie Howe's side. So yeah, this is the recap of the week, if you like, so far before Lee makes that trip down to Selhurst Park. Tomorrow evening, 5:30, kick-off live on Sky Sports if you're in the UK and Ireland. But it's been a busy day all round so far. Before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of other information, Chris Wood has left Newcastle United, 5 goals and 39 appearances, so he was there to do a job, Lee. On the grand scheme of things, it's a loan with an obligation to buy at the end of the season, £15 million. Newcastle have basically paid £10 million for Chris Wood for a season. On balance. How do you make of it?
Well, we're paying instalments for him, weren't we? So I think we still have to pay that unless we pay it up front. I don't know.
Let Forest do it.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, to be honest with you. But I think what Forest are going to get is an outlet, because they haven't really had a striker like who starts on a regular basis. I know Emmanuel Dennis has just left them as well. So, yeah, I think he'll probably play a lot of games. That's the reason why he's leaving. He's gone to Eddie Howe and said, look, I need to play games. I'm 31. I need to play games. And it does put him in a... I know you want to talk about that in a minute, but it does put Eddie Howe in a little bit of a vulnerable position. But his time, what you think of him? Look, he's a scapegoat. He was a scapegoat the last 12 months. But, however, the positives are that he came into a side when Newcastle were really, really struggling. We just got dumped out the FA Cup. We weren't winning games. And he was part of... Remember, Callum Wilson was injured until the last, 4 games of the season. He was a massive part in how we played. And I know it's been tweaked with the new signings and stuff, but look at the run that one. What was it, 10, 11 games? We went unbeaten, climbed the table, finished mid-table. He was the striker on that. Yes, he only got a couple of goals. That's the negative, and he's not going to bang in 20 goals a season, but he done a job. And everyone says he's a nice bloke, and I think he'll do well at Forest. And I hope Forest do stay up, just so they can pay all the wages.
Yeah, look, I think if you look at it as an all-round deal, I think it's a fantastic deal for the player, for Nottingham Forest as well. I think Nottingham Forest are getting obviously a proven striker in the Premier League. Let's take away the fact that we'll say it's worked okay. In terms of Chris Wood at Newcastle, it's done a purpose. But when he was at Burnley, he was scoring 1 and 2. I think that was
1 and 3, wasn't it?
1 and 3 maybe. No, it was 1 and 3 in Burnley, 1 and 2 in Leeds. That's why I was getting mixed up, because I did that video when he first came in. But look, he basically relegated Burnley. That was how we had to look at it. We needed to get an advantage over the teams around us, and he certainly did that. Look, 5 goals. I think you could probably name the 5 goals of Chris Wood. I think 2 of them were against Southampton, 1 against Wolves, 1 against Leicester, and there was the other one. Tranmere. We were there that night. So there's your 5 goals for Newcastle. Before I mentioned about the Eddie Howe side of things, will we miss Chris Wood? Because that's when you ever signing leaves, anybody leaves Newcastle United, you'll go, will we miss them? I think with the style of play and with everything that was kind of going around in terms of Chris Wood being not a meme, but like, oh my God, he's coming on. How did he miss that chance against Sheffield Wednesday? Will Newcastle United actually miss Chris Wood?
If we don't strengthen, yes. Because if we don't strengthen, I know Eddie Howe's talking about that it does leave them very vulnerable. Then you look at the squad and think, okay, we've got Callum Wilson who can't play a full season. Isak's a new sign who's just been injured, and hopefully we'll say the best of him. But then what happens if one of them goes down? We've only got one fit striker. Then you're going to have to look at maybe ASM. And he'll get more game time if we don't sign the striker, because Eddie Howe will say, look, we haven't signed a striker. Hopefully we have, of course. But I'm going to play you as the third choice striker. You'll play as your left wing, but whenever there's a time, I might have to move you in centre forward. I don't think Joe Linton is an option, but I don't think you'll use Joe Linton as much, because I think he's so good in midfield.
He is so good in midfield, and I think that debate right now is that left-hand side. Do you sacrifice Joe Linton on the left to put him into midfield where he's more comfortable, and put ASM on the left? And there's obviously there's that conundrum of maybe going 4-2-3-1, which Eddie Howe did towards the back end of Fulham, which is why Isak scored the goal and Newcastle got a win where it didn't look like we were going to get a win at one point. But you did make that point about Eddie Howe. He'll want reinforcements. He said that in his press conference today, that Newcastle are going to be a little short if we don't do anything from now till the end of the transfer window. It's starting to warm up a little bit, unless you're Chelsea buying everybody left. Yeah. No, but in the transfer window, it's Chelsea buying everybody left, right and centre. Arsenal looking to do a couple of deals now. Manchester United bought in Weghorst. Liverpool bought Gakpo at the start of the window. Seems like a lifetime ago now, but it is that kind of mood now that you think, well, you've got just under 2 weeks until the window slams shut. Newcastle need to bring reinforcements, and is Eddie Howe putting pressure now on the hierarchy or the people making the big decisions to get deals done now?
It's a little message, isn't it? I know Rafa was really, really clever at it when he done his. It's a little message saying, look, we're in a vulnerable position, but I think his hand's been forced, because if he keeps Chris Wood, do you keep an unhappy player for another 6 months? That's a conundrum that he has to face. That's why he's the manager. He makes the decisions. A lot of them he gets right. I think Newcastle fans have all wished Chris Wood really well today on social media, which was good, instead of slating him. But let's be honest, he's not a Premier League player that's going to take us to that next level. And it's the right move for everybody. And it's a great move, considering we're paying, what was it, 100k a week? Crazy money on transfer fees.
I would expect, when you look at the teams in the relegation zone, and I would match that, every team in the relegation zone, with Nottingham Forest and now Chris Wood and that. Forest should stay up for me, but we'll see how that goes. But transfers is the hottest of topics, and look, we've done a few videos in regards to dream signings, and obviously we mentioned I think Harry did the video on the Andrew Trossard. He's obviously looks like he's going to Arsenal now.
Done deal. So
there you go. That's something that's going to be interesting to see how he gets on the club size of Arsenal as well. But I think the last couple of names, we'll start with Anthony Gordon. That doesn't seem to be going away. Newcastle have been big admirers of Anthony Gordon. Everton need to sell. They need to sell a big player. They need money. They need to take money and basically reinvest and try and keep Everton in the Premier League. Anthony Gordon is the man that it looks like he is going. He was getting a lot of criticism after Everton's defeat at Southampton last week. Maybe his head wasn't properly in it. He hasn't really had that season where you go, oh my God, you need to buy Anthony Gordon. But when you look at the Brentford game for Everton, where he scored that goal, to maybe the January, he was in some form. But it does seem that a lot of Newcastle fans are unsure or have mixed feelings towards him.
Is that just because of his attitude?
It possibly is, but what's your opinion? If Anthony Gordon's offered you, let's say I don't know if this is accurate, but let's say £35 million for Anthony Gordon. You know, take that figure with a pinch of salt in the comments. But if it's £35 million for Anthony Gordon, A, does he improve the team? B, will he take us to the next level, which is what you mentioned before? And C, is it a good deal for Newcastle United?
He's better than Murphy. So, yes, he improves the squad. Is he better than the starting 11? That's up for debate.
Will he take us to the next level, basically?
For the squad, yes. Because if we qualify for Europe, there's a great option to start in, like, not meaningless games, but if we, if there's a build-up to a Champions League game, or if we're playing a weird team in Europa League, you rotate your side. Remember Pardew doing it. So I think he's a player that divides opinion because of his attitude. I think in terms of football ability, look, he can go past the player. He's got pace. He's got threat. Probably need to add a few goals to his game. But I always say, when we're linked to a winger, and I always say it to joke in our WhatsApp group now, is he better than Jacob Murphy? Because he's always the first option. Yes, he is. So is £35 million spent for a squad player? Take that with a pinch of salt. There could be more add-ons. It could be 50 million. Who knows? Depends on the fee. I wouldn't go any higher than 40 million for him.
And it's not what we've mentioned in notes going into this video, but it's just kind of came to me in terms of the Chelsea situation. Look, Chelsea have bought everybody on long-term contracts, X, Y, and Z. There will be Chelsea players.
That's around financial fair play.
Of course it is, but there'll be Chelsea players as well that will be available in the January transfer window. The two that I'm kind of hearing more in terms of Newcastle very, very interested, or at least would be interested if they became available, is Hakim Ziyech and Conor Gallagher. Hakim Ziyech, for me, is a better option than Anthony Gordon. Now, if you can get him at the same price, I would rather that deal than Anthony Gordon. I understand that Anthony Gordon is slightly younger, maybe has potential, but I think Hakim Ziyech, if you put him in this sort of atmosphere, and the crowd would absolutely love him. And the type of football that we're playing, it's kind of the football that you want him to play for. He's
a bigger profile because he's played Champions League games with Ajax. He's played in big games with Chelsea, albeit as a squad player. I wouldn't personally buy him. I would make him fight for the shirt, and then if he's improved, a bit like the Kennedy.
What, loan deal?
Yeah, I'll get him in loan because he's 29. So I'll get him on loan, and then, yeah, he's done with a job. A bit like obligation to buy with clauses inside of that. I think that's more safe, and that's saving money. Then go big in the summer.
Possibly so, possibly so. Another player that we've mentioned is the last one that we're going to mention in terms of incomings before I mention a couple of outgoing speculation as well, is Matheus Franca from the Brazilian side at Flamengo.
I think so, yeah.
Young lad. It seems to have had a bit of legs in the last few days as well, and maybe one for the future, a bit like the Andre Santoses that I know have gone to Chelsea, for example.
Problem that we've got with that is he going to get a work permit. So the only way he's going to get a work permit if he holds a Portuguese passport, which is very unlikely. So you might have to just sign him and then loan him out to a European club or send him back out. But Tim Vickery, who's a South American expert, very knowledgeable on it. He said some really, really nice stuff about him early on. I was listening to Talk Sport show on the way. Actually, it was down to an away game. And we were talking about the South American contingent. He was linked to Newcastle about the 2nd or 3rd of January. Big things, 6 foot, plays in the 10, a lot of skills. I'm not going to lie, that's all I know. I'm not going to go onto YouTube and think YouTube clips and judge a player by that, because you should never do that.
No, definitely not. In terms of outgoings, Jonjo Shelvey to Besiktas has not been reported by the British media. I have to stress that. It's more foreign media that are reporting that. And look, Jonjo Shelvey's got 6 months left in the contract. He's injured currently, so he wouldn't really be available until probably at the earliest, maybe the middle of February, if at the earliest. I can't see this one happening, I have to be honest. And I think this is an interesting one, really. It might be a separate video for another day. Does Jonjo Shelvey play for Newcastle next season? Because I know he has to make a couple of the starting appearances to trigger a contract extension, but when does he start for Newcastle?
Well, you can speak to European clubs because he's 6 months within. I don't think he will. He's talked about interviews in the past. His family's settled, kids are settled in school. He doesn't want to move. So ideally, I think Jonjo Shelvey will want that contract. I actually think Eddie Howe will give him it regardless of the clause. I think looking at where we are, if this was in 3 years' time, I don't think you would, because the calibre of players in the squad you would think would be better. But Shelvey does give you options. People say he doesn't work hard, but if you look at his stats and Eddie Howe, he does.
He does work hard, just to put it out there.
All the squad does. It just goes unnoticed. That's all, because he's part of a high pressing team, and you'll not get in the team unless he does it. But I said on my video when it was snowing the other day that I don't think he gets in the side at the minute if he was fully fit, because the option with Sean is Sean's doing a lot of the work which goes unnoticed. But I think he won't go in January. Any
other transfer news that you can remember that I can't remember on my notes?
Steve's mentioned some Mohamed Bishik. He watches a lot of Strasbourg. Local radio station Azur, I think he said that we're linked to this wonder kid, so I think he's going to be loaned in or bought in then loaned back out. So if that develops, we'll let you know.
We certainly will. Look, Crystal Palace versus Newcastle will take everybody's attention tomorrow night, and we will have a match reaction. We will have the drive down with Lee as well. We'll have all the reaction with the last word tomorrow night at some point, and then it's Southampton. You're staying for a few days down the south coast. You'll be acclimatised. You'll turn into a proper southerner by the end of Tuesday night. But just the last one, really, Lee. It's an exciting couple of days. If Newcastle can get a positive result tomorrow night, and then again another positive result against Southampton, that week leading up from the away leg to the home leg is going to be unbearable, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Before saying about the tune, I'll be doing loads of videos around Southampton and that, so stay tuned. Staying down there for 4 or 5 days, so yeah, no point coming back up with 2 away games in the short space of time. And then Harry and Sam are coming down for Southampton, which will be good. Good to see them. But yeah, regarding the tune, it's a ground where it's not. You know what it is? I'll say I hate Crystal Palace away.
Oh, like me.
Oh, I didn't like it. I just, it's cramped. It's in a neighbourhood which I don't enjoy. It's on a hill. It's an old school stadium. I can't see the pitch. But anyways, enough of me twisting. Look, you would think we would win, but our record's not great down there. But we've got a great chance. If we win, we're 8 points clear. Yes, Spurs will have to play, but we're 8 points clear of Spurs, which is like mental. I'm not worried about first and second. That's gone for me. It's about Champions League and possibly, can we still met them a few weeks ago? I questioned myself outside of Leicester, saying, is it Champions League, is it Europa League? I was like 50-50. It's got to go Champions League, because at the worst case, you get a Europa League spot, which is still class.
We certainly will. You'd like to think European football will be on Tyneside next season. It's a big weekend in terms of Premier League football. Newcastle take on Crystal Palace, as we've mentioned. But Tottenham take on Fulham on Monday night. Tough assignment for Antonio Conte's side. And Liverpool take on Chelsea in the early game tomorrow. So one or both could drop points as well. So it's a great opportunity for Newcastle United. Yeah, but from a very cold St James's Park, we'll leave you here hoping that transfers get done and Newcastle United can beat Crystal Palace tomorrow night. We'll see you all very soon.